Hello, in this video I am going to talk about oversized tarot decks, and there are quite a lot of them, so I'll have to break this into a series. And what I have here are a sample of some normal sized tarot decks, which they are usually larger than a standard poker deck. The size of cards that I'm going to be discussing in this video are quite large, like this one from the Carrie Yale, or this one from the Giant Rider-Waite. That's an example of how big some of these decks can get. And you might ask, why would you ever need a deck that big? The two main reasons are for instruction. Actually, there's a few other reasons, but I like using these big ones if I'm doing a class on tarot. They're great to hang on the wall or on a whiteboard with especially if it's a magnetic one. You can use little magnets to hold them up so that the entire class can see them. Another common reason is just for meditation purposes, and they are sometimes used if you're in like around here there's 4 or 5 occult bookshops where there are regular tarot readers in their little kiosks, and they'll use large cards like this as decor around the kiosk. So let me get started here, put these away. I'm going to start with the smaller and try to go to the larger, sort of. If I can. Oh, excuse me. The first one... Actually, I was going to mention that you can also get mini-sized decks too, and I only have one mini deck, so I just thought I'd throw that in there. This is a Rider-Waite that's tiny. But with the large decks, the first one is a remake of this particular deck, which is the Gilded Tarot, and it's by Cyril Marchetti. He put out a limited edition, at least I believe it's limited edition, called the Gilded Tarot Royale, and it was done a few years later after he had been making some more decks, and he wanted to revisit this particular deck. And so let me move these out of the way for now. We'll get back to them in a minute. I'm going to leave that here for comparison's sake. And these are just slightly larger. That is the size in comparison to the old deck, and I do like the artwork on this new set. I'll start with the Fool and the Chariot. I may not be able to get all of these on display. We will see how we do. The Devil and the Sun. I'll slide that over a little bit. We'll go with the Ace of Swords. I'm going to have to move this over here. The Five of Cups. The 8 of Coins or Pentacles. And the 10 of Wands or Staves. And I'll have to move these even more. What I'll do is do the court cards as such. Put the Page of Swords. There's the Knight of Cups. The Queen of Pentacles. And the King of Wands. And I really like this deck a lot. The colors are awesome. It has more detail than the original deck had, and I'm getting some glare, so I'm trying to move my light around here a little bit. seems a little bit better. And so that is called the Gilded Royale. Gilded Tarot Royale. It comes in a box like so. It's a very nice set. And like I said, I believe it was a limited edition, and you may not be able to get that anymore. I'm not positive. Now the next deck is a really odd deck, which is one of the reasons I picked it up. And a friend of mine was requested me to pick it up for him, and then he never came by to pick it up. And it is called the Baseball Tarot. Comes in a box like so, and it has very different. Oh, and I got it mixed up already. Well, here's is their Fool card. It's called the Rookie. The Chariot is called Control. The Devil is called the Goat. And the Sun is called the Picture. Let me see if I can move that over here. I'll try to do the same thing. I'm going to run out of room on a lot of these, it looks like. Balls is the suit that corresponds to swords, so that's the ace. 5 of mitts, the mitts correspond to cups. The 8 of bats, or bases, excuse me, and bases correspond to the coins. Here's the 10 of bats. I knew bats were in there somewhere, and that corresponds to wands or staves. I may be able to fit those in if I move the box out of the way. I'll do the same thing. They don't have pages or knights in this deck. They just go to 11, so that's like the 11 of swords with balls. The 12 of mitts, which would be like a knight of cups. Queens are called the MVPs. So there's an MVP of bases, which would be coins. And then the coach is the king. And so that is how that works out. Again, that's called the Baseball Tarot. It's not terribly common, and it is unusual. That's why I picked it up originally. Get those out of the way. Now the next deck, I don't have a box for it. This is one of the very early decks that I got, and in those days I wasn't saving the boxes that came with my tarot decks, which is naughty. If you are buying tarot decks, save your boxes. This is the let's see if I can remember it, Victoria Regina, I believe is what it's called. It's black and white, and it's based on Victorian style art and advertisements. So that's the Fool. The Chariot is a woman on a 3-wheeled full-size tricycle. The Devil is a clown, kind of a scary looking clown. And there's the Sun. Swords in this deck are guns, or handguns in particular, although they are still labeled as swords, so you know that that's what it means. So that's the Ace of Swords. 5 of Cups. Cups are mason jars. Here's the 8 of Coins, and the coins are pocket watches. And the 10 of Wands. And wands in this case are fountain pens. Here's the Princess of Swords, the Prince of Cups, the Queen of Coins, which is Queen Victoria herself, and the King of Wands, which I believe is a famous author, but for the life of me, I don't know who it is. And so that is the Victoria Regina Tarot deck. It's very unusual. Another reason why I like unusual decks. But I also really like the artwork in this deck. It's quite interesting. Next is a very well-known deck, and I believe I covered this in my ceremonial tarot decks. It's the Thoth Deck. There's the Fool, the Chariot, the Devil, and the Sun. I'm probably gonna, as these get bigger, I'm probably gonna run out of space. There's the Ace of Swords, the Five of Cups, the Eight of Coins or Discs, Ten of Wands, the Princess of Swords, and we are going to have to move stuff. The Prince of Cups, the Queen of Discs, and the Knight of Wands. They do make a smaller version of the Thoth deck nowadays. Oops, sorry about that. I was just looking on my shelf to see if I know I've got a copy, and I was just looking to see if I could find it. Here it is. If I can reach without pulling the mic. And this is the smaller Thoth. It's more of a standard tarot size. I bought that just for that reason. It's a little easier to handle, and I like using the Thoth deck quite often. So I wanted something that was a little easier to handle and shuffle. Now the next two decks I got pretty much based solely on the unusual artwork, and because the artist is fairly well known. And it's the same artist for both of these decks. This is the Tarot of Venice, and the yeah, sure. If I can remember the I'm having a brain cramp on the, it's Scapini. So the guy who made the fairly famous medieval Scapini deck also did these decks. Now let's see if I can fit them on here. So here's the Fool, the Chariot, the Devil, and the Sun. We're definitely going to run out of space here. There's the Ace of Swords, the Five of Cups, the Eight of Coins, and the Ten of Wands. The Knave of Swords, the Knight of Cups, the Queen of Coins, and the King of Wands. I really like the colorful artwork. It's very Italian, and I just think it's a really pretty deck. I don't really care for the Fool card that much, but overall, when the cards are laid out, it's really nice and colorful, and it's quite a nice deck. That's the Tarot of Venice. Now the next deck is also by Scapini. This is they're both made by him and his wife, actually. It's not just him.